Hello, everybody. My name is Kyle the Irishman Morrow. I'm here with two of my best buddies.
Alex the Batman Gregory.
James Papafazi Leach.
And together we are JAK. For those that don't know, which I wouldn't imagine that you had missed this because it was everywhere. There wasn't a place where it didn't cover. Sadly, as of November 12th, 2018, Stan Lee has passed away. We're not entirely sure of the cause, but most speculation is due to the health of Stan in the past, I want to say 3 years. It's not an easy thing. We're all hurting from this, but we wanted to do an entire episode, a full 30 minutes, in remembrance of Stan Lee, his accomplishments, and the things that he had done. Stan Lee was actually born December 28th, 1992, or 1922. I'm not all here, guys. In New York, Manhattan. His real name was Stanley, which I think is funny. Stanley Martin Lieber. This is actually really hard news for me because I know both of y'all love Stan Lee just as much as I do, but these guys have always claimed, DC is their favorite. And I guess in a way that was kind of our friendship rivalry, was always DC versus Marvel. And like I was telling them before we started rolling, one of the things that I always had the upper hand with one particular thing, no matter what DC did that was absolutely cool and amazing, I could always go, yeah, but Stan Lee.
Yep.
And that's kind of been, taken from me now.
He was definitely a great creator of universes.
Yeah. Alex, what was it you were saying?
Second greatest creator of universes in existence.
Who's the first?
Oh, the big man upstairs.
Jesus.
But to think he was the one that came up with Stan.
Yeah.
It must have been a momentous, I did it moment.
It had to be. Stan has had multiple accomplishments in his life. He served in the U.S. Army, actually back in, I got it somewhere right around here, and 42. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he retired in 45.
Yeah, he was honorably discharged from the military in 1945.
He was actually a sergeant.
With the rank of sergeant.
Yeah. He actually originally started out in the Signal Corps fixing telephone poles and other communications equipment. Out of all things, they use such talent like Stan Lee, and his job was to go fix telephone poles.
Who could have known?
Yeah, I know.
Who could have known the level he would have reached?
It was war. It was like, hey, you're doing this. You're a capable individual.
Yeah.
Later on, though, he did end up in the training film division, where he worked writing manuals, training films, slogans, and occasionally, I do like this, cartooning.
Wasn't there like a PSA for the Army about STDs?
Yeah.
And he had to write for that or something.
I think he does make mention in the documentary about that, doesn't he?
That's why I'm asking you.
I believe so, and I think I want to say it's the Kevin Smith one.
Yeah. Kevin Smith interviewed him.
Yeah. But we lost probably one of the last good remaining, dare I say, celebrities, really, on our planet and our universe to date. For those that don't know, which it would be very surprising if you didn't know his creations, You have my absolute favorite, which is Spider-Man. My second, well, actually my three favorites right off the bat is Spider-Man, X-Men, and Iron Man. He was the co-creator on those, but he also did others such as Thor, Hulk, the Fantastic Four, Black Panther, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, and Ant-Man. I mean, that's a lot of universes, or a lot of character development that he had his hands in.
Well, even the characters he didn't necessarily create, he was the face of Marvel. He was the one that said, yes, this character can exist.
Couldn't say Marvel
Punisher.
without saying Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And also you have his partner Jack Kirby as well, that he worked for a long time with, if I'm not mistaken.
He brought Marvel to
what it is now.
Mm-hmm. Even during their decline in the 90s, when they sold a lot of the rights to a lot of their characters, he's the reason why Marvel is even still around, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he also he definitely challenged the rating system.
Yep.
Yeah.
By doing a drug comic,
if
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It was a school that wanted to do one to show kids how bad drugs were.
Right.
And when the Comic Code Authority saw it, they were like, no, you can't do this. Yeah. He went to his producer, expender, the one that actually puts the stuff out, and went, look, I really want to do this.
Yeah.
And his boss rolled with it and said, you know what? We don't need that seal. Let's do it anyway.
Yeah, we're doing it without the seal of approval.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he did Spider-Man, he just knew that was going to be the last thing he wrote. So he went all out with it. You know, it's going to be, what are they going to do, fire me?
Yeah. Well,
and then it hit. You know, it was a hit, and there we are.
I mean, it was like Fantastic Four when you know, the Justice League and the League of Unknown, I believe is what it was called, came out and they created Fantastic Four. He actually got to the point where he hated his job.
Well, it was DC had the Justice League, and it was doing really well at the time. And he told, was it Jack Kirby? He wanted a team ensemble. Jack Kirby based it off of a team ensemble that he had penned or drawn for when he was working with DC.
Yeah. And
I was looking at some of the pictures, and I can see that it's like
early,
it's early Fantastic Four.
Well, this is another thing I thought this was really cool was Stan Lee's wife was the one that suggested that they have actual problems, you know, having to pay bills and things like that. And she basically just looked at him and said, "What, you're talking about quitting anyway?" And he did it and said, "Screw it," just went for it. And now we have things in comic books and in the movies. We have that background story now that they can actually have a weakness. They weren't complete gods.
They weren't just perfect.
Yeah,
they had everyday problems.
They had to pay bills. They had fits of rage and so forth and whatnot because of Stan Lee.
Is that a whole comment?
All in all, we've lost somebody very dear to us in this week. By the time you guys see this on Monday,
it'll be a week.
It'll be a week.
It'll have been a full week without Stan.
He was definitely one of the great minds of our time, one of the great creators of our time.
Actually, I have a question for both of you guys.
Okay.
Because, you know, Marvel Films is like a big deal now. What is your favorite cameo he ever did? Let's start with Alex.
Go to that one first because I'm thinking.
Okay. I like all of his cameos.
Well, obviously.
I wait for them.
Every fan does.
But to me, one of my favorite cameos was the long time, you know, the Marvel characters, the Watchers, right?
Yeah.
Where everyone's speculating that he's a Watcher. He's a Watcher. And then they confirm it in, was it Guardians of the Galaxy?
I believe so.
Or
Volume 2.
Volume 2?
Yep.
Was that? Okay. That right there was one of my favorite ones. I'm like, yeah, they confirmed it. They listened to us.
My absolute favorite had to be the one where he is the war veteran and he and Thor is drinking the mead
This
out
is
of the
not
plastic.
meant for mere mortal men. Neither was Panama Beach, son, but hand it over.
It's like
carrying out the room, Excelsior.
Yeah, he says
even slurs it to boot.
You're not gonna scare us, and that was.
I've got a close call on mine.
Okay.
One of the two has to be Deadpool, where he's the DJ in the club.
Yeah.
Because I still to this day have not figured out how he talked to his wife and letting him do that cameo. But the one that has to top that just a little had to be Spider-Man Homecoming.
The
what
librarian.
have I told you, you loud kids?
No,
Homecoming, not that one. Homecoming.
Oh yeah.
Where he's out the window.
Yeah.
I said, cut that racket out, you kids, and
I'll come.
The little old lady pops out the other window. Hi, how you been? Doing good.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Spider-Man's down the ground fighting.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite. Actually, the other one had to be the librarian one too.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And
just
that other Spider-Man
and
movie.
he's sitting there, and you can see his hand just, and he's just correcting
beautiful.
things, and the table almost hits him, and Spider-Man pulls it away from him.
Yeah.
That to me just kind of made everything for that scene. Just he was completely oblivious to the whole thing. I'm at a loss. I did cry. Did you guys cry, or was it?
It was sad.
I
didn't know the man personally.
Yeah,
I greatly appreciate his work and his contributions.
Yeah,
but
I wish I'd had a chance to actually. See
I would have liked to meet him. We had an opportunity to meet him at a convention, and it was just too much money to go to get the tickets and then go drive all that way. It was just like,
say me and the wife actually went to the Comic-Con in New Orleans where he was.
Yeah.
And the closest I got was maybe 100 feet away. I was close enough to go, that's Stan Lee! And
so you saw him in person?
Yes, I actually
saw
him.
You didn't get to shake his hand.
No, but it was a good 100 feet away behind ropes.
But
if I would have had the money, I would have done the meet and greet.
I could punch you. I would sell my car.
We used all our money to go down there for a single
day.
They
had to have the car to get there.
I mean, when you get there, it'd be like, hey, you want a car? I want to meet Stanley. I personally would have given anything to actually get Stanley's signature.
Yeah.
I've actually always wanted to get an Excelsior tattoo.
Yeah.
That was what I always wanted to do, was actually get a tattoo and have Stan Lee write the word Excelsior and then put it somewhere on my body and actually have a tattoo artist just copy it and stick it and then start.
Right. You could find it somewhere.
I've already started digging, believe it or not.
Did you see the video on Twitter? That was the unscripted, just they were sitting down and he was talking about what the fans meant to him.
Yes.
And he was just, what I sit in bed, lay in bed at night, and I wonder, start wondering, what is this all for? Why am I doing all this? What is this? And then he'll get a letter or meet somebody or whatever. And it's that connection. People that have never met have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, all these people.
It was inspiration.
Yeah. All these people that he's never met love him and would do anything for him.
The last video that actually Stan did, I thought was kind of a tribute to the humor of Stan, because we've all known about the left hand problem. He's kind of had it over, I want to say, the last year of his life. He's had a little issue with his hand. And, they start the video out with the somber music and him talking about how his hand has not been well over the years and it's been hard to function with it. And he said, I just wanted to let you know that thank you for all the love and support you guys have given me, but this hand is fine. But as for my other, and he picks up and he's got one of the Hulk hands in it. And he says, something's really wrong with this one. And that just shows that even at 95,
he had a sense of
he had his mind about him.
Well, and the fact is, he would have done that not long after his wife passed away, too.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I thought it was 2017.
Was it 2017?
Everything I found said 2017.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was 2017. So he made it about a year.
Well, I told you guys that after she died, it wasn't going to be long.
I remember when his wife died, I actually cried then too because I knew Stan was hurting, and for some reason, to me, that bothered me. I was actually on a tattoo artist's table getting my leg done, my geek tattoo that is on my leg, and my girlfriend Sky, she walks up and goes, "Hey, Stan lost his wife today." And I kind of cried a little bit, and my artist was like, "Dude, are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he's like, "Am I hurting you?" I'm like, "No, that's not what's bugging me. It's just the fact that somebody that I consider a childhood hero, I know he's in pain right now."
All the big credit we give him for all the heroes and universes he created.
Yeah.
But if it would not have been for his wife, Joan B. Lee, and giving him that push, go, do it.
Yeah.
Imagine where we would be without it.
And he was self-conscious about the comics thing.
Yeah. Everyone.
Because comics was a kid's thing. That wasn't a respectable writing job.
There's a quote that I actually shared about that he used to be embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started to realize that
as it grew and it gained momentum.
Yeah. That
comics have come a long way.
Oh, it's done a full circle now. It's not cool to not go see the new Marvel movie now.
Yeah.
But when we were growing up, it was like, you read that crap? And
even then it was like that.
Yeah.
It didn't blow up until the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't seem like it anyway. But he was self-conscious about his career, and they'd go to parties, and he was a mover and a shaker. He knew a lot of powerful, influential.
In a way, we could give him credit for turning the word nerd and geek into a positive thing.
Yeah.
I mean, really, up until mid-2000s.
I mean, look at the Geek Nation now, and I call it the Geek Nation. I always have. But, I mean, if you look at it from when we were growing up, I know it sounds weird compared to these two, but I was actually a football player. But I loved comics as a kid.
Yeah.
And I had that love for comics even while I was on the football team. So I was even an outcast amongst the people that I played with every Friday. It was one of those things that was just it was awkward because I was like that halfway point.
Right.
I was the cool guy jock, but at the same time, I was that dweeb that got excited about the new issue of Spider-Man. And now you look at it today, and all the kids have the T-shirts like the ones I'm wearing and the James was wearing.
I still remember when I was in college, which was easily 10 years ago.
Yeah,
that was when that was about the time things really started to turn around. Because I was doing automotive.
Yeah,
but I was a nerd. I was sitting up there reading comic books and manga and built a computer. While taking automotive, I built a computer for myself.
Yeah.
Helping people find music that they couldn't find anywhere in stores because, we live in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And, not really a good distribution back then. Online wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was, but
it wasn't as big of a thing as it is now.
Yeah.
You didn't have the ease of, hey, let's use PayPal and click.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, how far just out of curiosity?
Oh, we're 20 minutes in.
Okay, we're doing good. No.
But in a way, I see Stan's influence, because that was about the same times that things really kicked it off for our generation.
Everybody knows my favorite, obviously, is Spider-Man, but what is your favorite Marvel character? Just because I want to make sure that I have it on record. Which side, guys? Y'all want to think?
Or? Go ahead.
I've always been more of an Iron Man fan.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Which that might be a bleed over for me being a Batman fan. Rich billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, genius
with cool tech.
Yeah.
I've always liked Wolverine.
Yes.
Captain America is like my main favorite. Because he's just a dude doing the right thing. That's why I like Captain America.
See, I also love the T-shirt you got because I'm a Punisher fan too.
I like the Punisher.
Yeah.
Because he's, Captain America's at one end of the spectrum and Punisher's at the other end.
Yeah.
And they're both doing the same job.
Yeah.
Hulk. I love the Hulk. Captain America, Wolverine, Punisher.
Yeah, I love how nobody's even mentioned my second runner. Yeah. Like, if I have to pick Iron Man out of the Avengers group, out of the rest of his creations, it had to be Xavier.
Charles Xavier?
Yes.
That's a good one.
I mean, the man who created everything made him, and then he put the X-Men together. It's like creator, creation, creation's creation.
Nightcrawler was my X-Men.
I really like Nightcrawler. I like Nightcrawler. I like the character dynamic of he looks like a demon straight out of hell, but he's a very devout Christian.
And he actually I always felt bad for Nightcrawler, I guess. That was kind of my thing. But no, all in all, I know, James, I don't know if you'll remember this, but do you remember one of the nights when we first met? You remember that much about that? We used to be paranormal investigators, for those that don't know. And one of the things that the day we met actually is we got absolutely smashed. I mean, we were very drunk, but we were sitting out on the porch and we started talking from politics to the paranormal, to religion. And then there was this click in between me and him, I think, in a weird way. And this was comic books. And I used to talk about how I liked Stan's work and all of that. And he was like, oh, dude, me too. And it was like one of those first buddy features that happened with me and James. And later on, I ended up having it in college with Alex. And I think, honestly, if you stop and think about it, you kind of have Stan Lee to ask for to thank for our friendships.
That one of those things that really connected us. Like, hey, we really, really like what he does.
Yeah. I mean, it.
And then from there, we get to know each other. And
it's like, what do you think of the X-Men and Avengers?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What doth thou know?
It's one of those things that you look back on it, and sure, we agreed on other things, but there was always that one thing that we could always come back, and that was the superhero aspect of it.
Most definitely.
Yeah, whether we debated over the Marvel and DC, granted, we were all joshing because we love both.
I love both. You can't have one without the other.
But, when we always said our favorites were, and, that was that argument. And I think comic books have kind of brought more people together to date than it used to. And we have Stan Lee to be one of the big heads that did that for us.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, and I don't want to chalk it up to our friendship just being about Stan Lee, but I mean, it's definitely
definitely one of the
sealers.
One of the things we had in common that got us to sparked that conversation, that got us to be friends. So in a way, Stan Lee is responsible for that. He gave us something to talk about that brought us together.
I mean, we wouldn't have this show without him, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I even mentioned that to my wife the other day. I was like, there's so many things that we wouldn't have in entertainment and comic books and movies if it was not for that man. I said, there's a strong possibility that we might not even be doing this comic book nerd culture podcast.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been for us all sharing a like and love for his work.
Yeah.
And the work, and even the work that he didn't pen himself, he had to give the green light on.
Yeah.
And
actually, we were just talking about that with Punisher.
Right. I mean, there were artists and writers who are, in need of thanks, but he was the head of the company, so he was the one that greenlit it all.
Yeah. The New York motto. Do you know what the New York motto is?
Mm-mm.
It's Excelsior.
Is it?
Really?
Yeah.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Did they get it from him or them from
him from there? I don't know. But I want to do more research on it. I really do. But that was something that somebody had mentioned, and I was like, no, that's got to be a joke. And I went and looked it up, and I was like, holy crap, it really is Excelsior. I thought it was a lie that somebody just kind of randomly made up, but they never stated who created it first. I'm assuming New York, because New York is older than Stanley, but you never know. You never know. Well, yeah, you've got 1922. But
can you just imagine all the things that he saw, all the changes that he saw? I mean, X-Men was a direct response to the civil rights movement,
and so was Black Panther.
So was Black Panther,
and X-Men as well.
Actually witnessing man going into space and to the moon.
Yeah, he during I believe it was an interview with I forget who the interviewer was, I forget what show it was. I believe maybe it was Larry King. He was talking about how one day we would have these little devices that we would get all our news and information and entertainment from in palm of your hand. This was a good 10 years before cell phones were even close to being anything like this.
Really?
So that's a testament to the kind of creativity he had. It was his job to create these fantastical worlds. So it's not too far of a stretch for him to observe and see where society in real life was going.
Yeah.
I'll find the clip and I'll show it to you guys later.
Once again, being an observer.
You just observe and go on what he sees.
Well, I mean, if you look at culture to date, the geek side of culture, we wouldn't have Comic-Con, cosplayers. You wouldn't have any of the stuff without Stan Lee. Well, not to the degree that it is today.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It wasn't all him, but it was. He's definitely a main figurehead of it.
Another big influence. It was, I believe, Marvel that did the early translations for Akira.
Yes,
and a couple of the other classic mangas that later became Akira became a full-length movie.
Yeah.
So in a way, even the otakus like me got to go, thank you, Marvel,
because
Stan Lee was the one that was like, look, let's give this a try. Why not?
Let's pull the Japanese influence and bring it to the Western world, and let.
I was actually reading where someone had mentioned all this and said, really, without him saying, let's try this.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have the boom of the late 80s, early 90s of Japanese culture.
So in a way, anime,
being
known here
should be has reason to thank him.
Another little thing for Stan.
He busted his hump for that company, and he was constantly trying to find new ways to make money, to keep people employed.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is something that I have an issue with.
So he just went all out.
There is one thing, and I hate to be a negative presence on here, but there was one thing is, the last 3 years of Stan's life hasn't been that grim.
No.
Yeah.
And where was Marvel when he needed them? And that was something that kind of bothered me, because it's like
with Disney.
Well, when the accusations of elderly abuse came about, I can remember, if they need somebody to stand at a door and beat the hell out of somebody else,
I will do it gladly.
I will gladly do it.
Somebody come bail me out.
We were bouncers at the time too, so it's like they look like they're gonna be halfway across with this old man. They're getting the head split.
Oh, I would have ended up in a good.
I believe I even may have tweeted that. I'll have to go back.
You may have to look that up. All in all, Stan Lee and his accomplishments are vast. I mean, there's just so much that he has done for us.
He was a main influence for Kevin Smith.
Yeah. So I think we're going to leave this episode here.
Yeah, we could talk about this for hours.
Oh, we really could. So I feel like it's the right thing to kind of cut it, so that way you guys aren't getting bored. I'm pretty sure most of this you've probably already heard by the time it comes out.
Yeah.
Maybe we brought to light some stuff they didn't know.
Maybe, and I know we're a little late. Y'all keep in mind that we shoot on Fridays.
And this happened on a Monday.
It happened on a Monday, and we literally went. And it was one of those moments where it was like, I honestly, I'm kind of glad it happened on a Monday, because it gave me that entire week to cry. I ignored this till last second. I did everything else for the Thursday show that we were supposed to be doing, but this I literally held off till the last second, just because every time I would start looking at Stan Lee pictures or do the research, please don't get me started, because I will. I kind of wanted to cry. I'm wanting to cry right now, and I'm trying to fight it. So I don't want to be a blubber baby here.
Hmm.
But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do closing. As for Stan, you will be missed. We love you. Thank you for all that you've done, for what we mentioned to what we didn't mention. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot we didn't mention. We can't even fit it all. I personally want to thank him for,
giving you something to do during your childhood.
Yeah.
Something to keep you busy.
Yeah, he did. He kept me pretty busy with the adventures of Spider-Man and X-Men and the others. It was one of those things that I just fell in love with because of what he did. And without him, he kind of became my childhood hero. So I want to thank him for that. You gave me two of my best buddies here. We appreciate you, Stan.
Yeah.
I'm Kyle the Irishman Morrow.
Alex Fatman Gregory.
James Papa Fuzzy Leach.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.